Hi everyone, long time no see. I was absent from my channel for a few weeks because I had a few really busy weeks, but I'm back with a video, and this time I would like to talk to you about a different topic that I haven't covered yet on my channel. It's not directly related to personality types, but it is something that plays a huge influence in our relationships, in the health of our relationships, and in the way that we feel in our relationships. So all about that in the next few minutes. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's dive in. So, as you saw in the title of this video, I'm going to approach a topic that is called the drama triangle. This is a theory that comes from Karpman from the 1960s, and it is a concept that is used quite a lot in transactional analysis, in psychology, and also people who practice different form of support systems or professions like psychotherapy, counseling, coaching, consultancy can use this triangle. And I think it is an extremely insightful way to realize what is going on in our relationships, what is not working, and what we can do about that. So on my channel so far, I've talked quite a lot about relationship challenges or obstacles that could in some way be related to personality types. For example, clashes between Enneagram fears or needs, or differences in cognitive functions, in communication styles caused by our personality, and so on and so forth. And these are still valid, they are still extremely important to observe, but there's a different perspective that recently I've noticed has a pretty big impact on the way people interact with each other, and this is called the drama triangle. So this drama triangle says that when people interact with each other in different types of relationships, especially in those relationships where we can go on a deeper level, there are two possible scenarios. One of the scenario is that we interact with each other from the perspective of psychological games, of manipulation that we are not always aware of, and this can create drama and problems and negative feelings and conflicts. Or we can interact with each other from an adult to adult perspective, which has more to do with intimacy or vulnerability. So what happens in the drama triangle? There are three types of roles that people can take in their relationships with other people. And a lot of the times we are not aware that we are doing this, which is why it is important to practice this awareness exercise. One of the possibilities is to take the role of a rescuer, the second one is of a victim, and the third one of a persecutor. Victim means that we have a tendency to get into a role where we complain, we are constantly unhappy about things, there's always a problem that we pick out, and we have a tendency to not really take action to solve our problems. Rather, we victimize ourselves and we expect other people to come and solve the problems for us. It's more of a passive role, it's more of a complaining role, and it has a tendency to invite other people around us to either step into a rescuer role. So rescuer means that we have a tendency to say that, oh, I know better. Let me show you the way. Let me help you. Let me support you. Let me do this for you because, oh, poor you. And even though from the outside this can look like a nice gesture, actually when we keep rescuing someone, when we keep helping them excessively or doing things for them excessively and not allowing them to also do things, we take away their power. If they're adults, we don't empower them. We don't support them to grow and learn and make decisions and become stronger themselves. Rather, we do those things for them and we keep supporting them to be in that victim role. The other possibility is to become a persecutor. So someone who's constantly criticizing, someone who's constantly aggressive in their style, who's trying to be domineering, who's hurting other people with their behavior, who's being excessively controlling and demanding. Assertive, but to an extreme where we are the ones who always want to make decisions. We are the ones who always want to have things looking in a certain way. And this can invite other people to become victims too, because if we constantly have that attitude, other people might not feel comfortable to talk to us, to share their real feelings, opinions, perceptions, and they might fall into that victim role of being passive, of not making decisions, which in turn can kind of make us become even more of a persecutor, because we get annoyed and we say, hey, why are you never doing anything? It's always me who has to solve the problems. It's always me who has to, do something about that. And there's a cycle that keeps reinforcing itself with all of these three roles. Now, what I would like to say is that every person can sometimes go into one of these roles. If you look at yourself and really observe yourself in different situations with different people, you will see that sometimes you're a rescuer, sometimes you're a victim, and sometimes you're a persecutor. However, we do have a tendency to manifest one of these roles more than others, or two of these roles more than others. For example, if I look at the Enneagram and I try to draw some correlations, I would say that, for example, type 4 is more likely to fall into the victim role than a persecutor or a rescuer role, even though those are also possible from time to time. Type 9 also is more likely to be a victim. Type 2 is more likely to be a rescuer because of the pleasing tendency and the desire to help others. Type 8, Type 1, for example, are more likely to be a persecutor. It's something that is more aligned with the way that they do things. Type 6 could sometimes be more of a victim, but I also see them heavily represented in the rescuer capacities as well. Type 7, more likely to be either a rescuer or a persecutor, depending on certain factors, and a bit less likely to be a victim because of their more extroverted and assertive personality. Type 5, either a persecutor or a victim, depending on the situation. So there are some tendencies and some correlations with that as well. And then in terms of MBTI, here I would say it's a bit more complicated to draw those correlations, but generally speaking, people who have a lot of extroverted feeling, the FE types in particular, FJ types, they are more likely to heavily go into the rescuer role. Sometimes FPs, especially the introverted ones, are more likely to naturally fall into a victim role, and maybe TJ types more naturally fall into a persecutor role. With TPs, I think it's a bit more mixed. But again, every person sometimes takes all of these three roles, and the dynamics that get created in relationships when we do this are usually not helpful, healthy, and supportive. They make us feel upset, they make us feel like our relationship is not going in the right direction, and so on and so forth. So what is the alternative? In transactional analysis, we talk about intimacy as an alternative to the drama triangle or the psychological games. And this intimacy has a lot to do with having an adult to adult, more equal type of relationship, where we resist going into the victim, the rescuer, or the persecutor, and rather we maintain that inner sense of stability, of knowing who we really are and what we really want, and interacting with other people from the same attitude. A combination of kindness and honesty. Because on the one hand, we don't create excessive drama in terms of criticizing others or being rude or aggressive, like someone who's doing a lot of persecution might do. On the other hand, we're not really exaggerating with the kindness as well. So we don't go too much into the rescuer role of only focusing on the other person's feelings or needs. We do a combination of both. And that is where vulnerability and intimacy can come into play. So someone who interacts with a different person from a more adult, intimacy-based role is someone who opens up, shares their feelings, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's risky. Someone who's aware of their feelings and their needs and expresses that. Someone who's more aware of the potential of projecting certain things on other people and tries to resist that, to a certain extent at least, because every single human being projects all the time. And inviting other people to join us in a conversation that is based on intimacy and vulnerability. Now, we cannot fully control the other person, but what we can do is increase the likelihood that someone else will join us in this dance. So if we connect with our adult self, if we connect with our resources around intimacy and vulnerability, a combination of kindness and honesty, we are more likely to at least do our part in co-creating healthy, happy, and meaningful relationships. I hope this video was an insightful aspect for you. Maybe it's something for you to consider in the future. And as always, thank you very much for being with me. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I wish you a wonderful holiday season and a beautiful new year.